Here's what I want to throw out to you, Rob. We know that Carolina has Sam Darnold, who was in the same draft as Baker Mayfield. He was taken third. Right. Baker went first. And went to Carolina last year in a very similar situation, right? Kind of in need of resurrecting his career. Obviously, that's where Baker is. Darnold got a shot to start, some games last year. Certainly wasn't great. Wasn't really even good. Was 4-7 as a starter in the 11 games he started. Statistics, nothing.
They got off to a good start. His numbers weren't
3-0 initially. 3-0 initially. Right. And he is a guy, Rob, that you liked. You really liked him when he was with New York. So I want to throw this out to you. Excuse me. Who do you think should start in Carolina? And let me even ask it this way as well. If it affects your answer, do you think Baker, if you're clearly Baker, do you think he should be given the job from day one, or it should just be an open quarterback battle and best man wins?
I don't think anybody has to be handed anything. It should be an open competition and the best player should win. But if I'm the Panthers, it's the same thing, Chris. When you have two girlfriends, it tells you neither one are that good. So the idea that they would even have to go out and get Baker, unless you're
that ain't my world. But some people would disagree with that.
But I'm saying, like, the idea, like, something's missing. That's why you went to get another woman. Do you know what I mean? Like you don't go out if you're happy with Sam Darnold and you think that he's your future and he just got a bad year and it bounced back. You wouldn't bring Baker Mayfield around him. You wouldn't do it. You don't believe that Sam Darnold has done enough for him to be given a job as quarterback. And I would take Baker Mayfield. I mean, I'm all for competition. And, Chris, you said it. They were both drafted in the same draft. They're both on their fifth year of their rookie deals. Like, they're both in the same boat, okay? But Baker has performed better. And we have at least something we can hang on to and say that Baker accomplished some things. I'm not ready to crown him because he won a playoff game, but that organization hadn't won a playoff game in a long time. And I don't know how many Sam Darnold, I knew he threw a pick on his very first pass in the NFL. Didn't that happen, Chris?
Right, and then he came back and had a good game.
And he came back and had a good game against the Lions.
That was one of his few good games.
Like 38 points. It was like the highest amount of points for the Jets, am I right? In like an opener or something? It was some sort of record. But anyway, going in, I'm thinking it's Baker's job to lose. And if Sam Darnold outplays him,
so you kind of think he should be, but you do think you start day one. It's right. There's really, we don't have a starter. We're going to see, right.
I don't think either one of those guys have earned the right to be named starter. I don't.
I agree with you. I think Baker Mayfield's better. He certainly has played better for his career, even as he's been up and down. All right. But he's been better than Sam Darnold. But in fairness, he's been in a better position than Sam Darnold as well. I mean, that Browns team does have talent. This year, and that was my whole argument for why he should have considered going back there. I mean, they didn't want him, but so he couldn't go back there by himself. But I think that this year, that's a playoff roster around him at quarterback had he gone back. Darnold's never had that. And so that does, just like Mayfield being injured last year, is not an excuse, but, it's somewhat of an explanation, right? Something you have to factor in. And I think with Darnold, who certainly hasn't looked good, you do at least have to factor in that he's been with bad teams and bad situations.
And that's true. I'm not going to deny that.
I agree with you that I think day one, I mean, it's a competition, right? Like you said, neither of these guys has played well enough where it's just it's your job from day one. Even though Baker's clearly been better, it's still let's let these guys play it out and may the best man win. And I think Baker,
competition is good for you sometimes.
Yep,
it just is.
And look, Darnold does have some advantages, Rob, over Baker. Now, I don't mean on the field, but I mean, one, he knows the system better, right? Baker,
That's true.
Baker's, I'll give this to Baker. He's had, 4 offensive coordinators, I think, in Cleveland. So he's used to adjusting to different systems. So that could help him. But right now, he's got to step in there to a new system, and Darnold knows the system. So that is one thing in Darnold's favor. Secondly, Rob, Ben McAdoo, the offensive coordinator for Carolina, is not a Baker Mayfield fan. Now, he'll put a spin on it now, but in the draft, coming out of that draft in 2018, McAdoo had Baker rated as the 6th best quarterback in that draft. 6th. And so he has not been a Baker Mayfield fan. He said he's not big enough and he doesn't have the athleticism and things like that, kind of a small guy will need, or short guys, will need, because he's talking about his height. And then here's the third thing, Robin. It's not a huge thing, but it's just, it's just another thing you got to kind of overcome. Because there was a lot of talk about in Cleveland, the players were done with him. And I don't know if I might have been one player kind of had something positive to say about Baker as he was going through all this madness, but most guys didn't come to his defense. Whether it was the Odell situation with Odell Sr. or just with the whole Deshaun thing and the way they mistreated Baker in Cleveland. But Robbie Anderson, the second best receiver, if you will, in Carolina last year, second most receptions. You remember when the rumors first began that Baker would be traded to Carolina, Robbie Anderson tweeted, Instagram, whatever it was, no! And now he's obviously walking it back. He said, look, I said what I said, but I was really just defending our quarterback, Sam Darnold. Sure. Okay. But those are things,
well, he did
Rob,
play with Darnold. He did play with
to...
Darnold, right? With the Jets. Didn't they play together?
No, I get that. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
I get, you want to show support to your guy, but let's just put it this way. If he was in Kansas City, or if he was in Green Bay, or if he was, somewhere where they had a better quarterback, you think he would have been like, no, I'm supporting my guy? So, I mean, I get it. That's the best thing he could say right now. But I just think, Rob, Baker's going to have to win these guys. I don't know how many of them believe in him. Players talk. And so he is going to have, I don't think they're going to give it to him day one. And so he's going to have to go out there and earn it. I mean, I said it earlier. He's actually taken a pay cut to play there. So I don't know how the team, like you said, they don't believe in Sam Darnold enough to say this is our guy. So they're trying out Baker. But it's far from, we couldn't wait to get our hands on Baker Mayfield. He's our answer. I mean, he's going to have to go out there and win everybody over.
Yeah, I mean, he does, but he does have a little bit of juice. And I'm not saying he's like the savior or anything like that. But he did have and put together. And I mean, it depends. People can look at it. He's a different kind of guy. There's going to be guys who don't like him or whatever. He's overcome a lot. And he's had ups and downs in the NFL. But at least he has that one season that you could look at and go, well, what was going on? Of course, yes, they have great running backs. They have a great defense. There's a lot of things that went in, but he played pretty well, Chris. And there was no Odell Beckham Jr. You remember, you kept saying that Baker was better when they didn't have Odell.
Yeah, he wasn't
right. I mean, exactly, because he wasn't feeling pressure. I've always criticized him about that you have to learn to play with a guy like that because he's too big of a weapon. And remember, I said that. I said, we had to talk about that. Is OBJ done? And I'm like, no, he's just too good for us to think that he was done and boarded his career. It's a shame with the injury, but he had a rebirth with the Rams, Chris. He just did. He became that guy again. So I think if players are honest and they look at it, and players are the best judge from this standpoint, Chris, they know who deserves to be out there, right, on that playing field.
Right.
No coach can shoehorn somebody in or convince them. We talk about it all the time. With Tim Tebow. They brought Tim Tebow down there, Chris, to be a tight end. You knew that wasn't going to play, right? Right? Like the players aren't going to allow that.
Right. You can't put guys out there that don't deserve to be playing. Because then other guys you lose your credibility. Absolutely. And that's why it's smart not to, and now we'll see what they do, right? For all we know, they might say, I doubt it. I'd be shocked. But I guess they could name Baker their guy, but I don't see that happening. But I think it's smart not to, Rob, so they earn it, right? Heck, if Darnold beats him out, more power to him. But if you're the coaching staff, Matt Rule, who, he's got to be on a hot seat down there. He has got to let these guys play it out, and everyone on that team, Rob, will see who's better, right? Whether it's Darnold or whether it's Baker. And to your point, Darnold was 3-0 and playing pretty well when Christian McCaffrey was still healthy. And so, we'll see what happens. That was another thing,
Chris. That's a great point. In that, you remember McCaffrey got hurt, and then the ship went the other way.
Right. But it's a no lose. I shouldn't say no lose because they're just not a very good team. But for Carolina, you just let these guys go out there and you see who's the best one. Now, one thing I don't think would be good to see, Rob, is them kind of switching back and forth. You know what I mean?
No,
like Darnold starts the first two
that.
games and he struggles. Then you go to Baker and then he struggles in 3 games. Then you go back to Darnold. I mean, I get it. If they're both playing poorly, maybe you got to do something like that. But ideally, you want to give a guy a legitimate chance. And I don't know. This is it. This is interesting because, Rob, I think both of these guys are playing for their careers as starting quarterbacks. I think they both will probably, last several years in the league, but this is the year. And if Baker's that guy, Rob, if he's good enough to be like a franchise quarterback, then he'll beat out Sam Darnold. He'll beat him out. So he's getting a shot. We'll see what he does with it.